Welcome to Tmedia for Metaswitch, a live question and answer session. With a recent announcement of collaboration between TelcoBridges and Metaswitch to certify Tmedia gateways for use with Metaswitch CFS networks, we imagine there are many questions. So stick around as we address some of the anticipated questions and an opportunity for live attendees to pose their own questions. So let's get going. So I'm Alan Percy, the CMO for TelcoBridges and the host for today's event. And joining us is Austin Spreadbury. He's a senior program manager at Microsoft. And prior to the acquisition of Microsoft, Austin held a number of product management roles at Metaswitch. And Austin, thanks for joining us and bringing your expertise to today's event.
Oh, Alan, thanks very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here to talk about this initiative.
Great. Well, let's dive right in. We'll jump in with our first couple of questions here. And the first one is, we imagine people are wondering who's TelcoBridges and who's Metaswitch. So Austin and I are going to cover that real quick here. So for those of you who don't know about TelcoBridges, we're a manufacturer of voice over IP media gateways and session border controller technology. Primarily focused on service providers, the carriers and service providers around the globe. It is an employee-owned company that was originally founded in 2002. A number of the founders are still working for the company, roughly about 40 employees, with a nice new headquarters in Montreal. The photograph here of our new facility at 138 de la Barre. We've got all the hardware, software, equipment testing, manufacturing, all in that facility, although a lot of the people are still working from home. We've also got sales support offices, not only in Montreal, but also Turkey, Hong Kong, Italy, Brazil, and I work from my home office outside Buffalo, New York. And of course, that's how we can provide our 24/7 technical support. All right, Austin, you want to tell us about Metaswitch?
Yeah, sure, Alan. So, we're now sort of labeling ourselves Metaswitch, a Microsoft company, and that's that we are now part of Microsoft. They acquired us in July 2020, part of a group called Azure for Operators, as part of the broader Azure team within Microsoft. We were founded in 1981, and we've been serving the telecommunications market service providers for more than 25 years. Various products and solutions in fixed and mobile communications operators. And now our new home in Microsoft means that we can start to bring the power of cloud to telco networks, future-proofing them, driving down costs, and finding ways to use the ability to open up new revenue streams. All that said, though, we are still selling the products and the services that our customers know and love, such as CFS, our core feature server, which is the thing that will be controlling the Tmedia we're going to be talking about today, EAS, our advanced applications and voicemail platform, and the other things that we do to customers all around the world, North America mostly, but globally. So despite our So we have this new cloud infrastructure which we can offer, but we are still committed to meeting our customers where they are on hardware, virtual, or cloud platforms. We're very happy to provide a path forward to cloud for those that want to go that way, alongside what you would call hybrid environments using public and private, and also on-premises options. So we're very happy to be able to continue to serve our market, and this new initiative here is just another way we hope to do that.
Very good. Thank you for that. All right, so let's move on to starting with what has been announced. And if you haven't had an opportunity to take a look at the press release that we issued earlier this week, or last week, TelcoBridges, we entered into an interoperability agreement, and that was the core of the announcement, where TelcoBridges will enhance our Tmedia product portfolio to add support for the MVS and SaaS platforms within the Metaswitch framework. And when that work is complete, Metaswitch will certify the platform. We'll be offering it to the market as Tmedia for Metaswitch will be the brand that we use. And that will be a software upgrade that'll be available in the first half of next year. And one key thing is that the sales of Tmedia will still be direct from TelcoBridges and will come as a referral from Metaswitch. So that's it in a nutshell, but obviously reading the full press release is highly recommended. All right, so some other questions we anticipated. What is a Tmedia media gateway, and what are some of the different models, and what interfaces and or scales are available? So let's go through that real quick. So Tmedia is a product line of 3 different classifications or platforms, starting with our TMG 800, moving up to the TMG 3200 and a much larger TMG 7800. All with chassis-based architectures. The 800 it goes from 1 to 16 T1s or E1s. The 3200 goes up to 64, and we go up to 1024 with the 7800. And similarly with DS3s, we can handle either 1, 3, or 48. And the larger units can handle OC3 STM1 up to 16. With a number of Ethernet ports provided, for connectivity into the networks. One of the unique things about the product portfolio is it shares common features and functions across all 3 platforms, whether it be the 800, 3200, or 7800. You'll notice all the features are enabled on all the platforms with just a couple of exceptions. And that is, of course, the performance for the, call completions and call attempts. That it varies based on the processing power in the platforms, and the 7800 does add N+1 redundancy, so that more than just 1+1 can have a single shelf take over for a failed shelf. All right, can Tmedia operate in the Metaswitch network today? This is one of the questions that we anticipated and popped up, and the answer, of course, is yes. Matter of fact, we have a number of current customers with our Tmedia platforms in a Metaswitch CFS environment. And one specific one we wanted to point out is a published case study we have with Hong Kong Telecom, where they went through a major network transformation starting last year and is ongoing now. And I'll just give you a quick summary of that. As you know, Hong Kong Telecom is one of the largest providers in Hong Kong. And they were dealing with some aging TDM equipment across the region. And of course, it became increasingly difficult to maintain it and find spare parts, and even more difficult to find people that knew how to use it still or support it. So what they put together as a plan to replace their overall platform with replace those TDM switches with a combination of Metaswitch CFS and our TelcoBridges Tmedia gateways. And this work entailed us a little bit of customization for their specific application that helped with complexity and reduce some of the complexity, improve the reliability, and was provided them a platform that would be much easier to maintain and manage going forward. With and let them offer some new IP-based services from the CFS software. And one of the interesting nets of the overall project, besides moving over to the IP-based infrastructure, is they saved a considerable amount of electricity. And from an analysis they did, they found out they're going to save about $2 million a year in electricity between, the actual power to operate the equipment and the cooling. And this earned them some green awards from the government, and we're very proud of this. And interestingly enough, the cost savings on the power was enough to pay for a lot of the equipment. So a real win for HKT, and we're proud of it. And of course, we got a URL here to read the whole case study, and I encourage you that. You can find it on our website. All right, next question. Why would Metaswitch certify TelcoBridges media gateways? So Austin, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, sure, Alan. Okay, so 2 parts really. Why Tmedia? Well, I mean, as you've just been hearing, we've got proven interop already, as exemplified by that large transformation project that Alan was just talking about. And of course, TelcoBridges has a reputation for quality engineering and support, which is something we'd be very happy to be associated with, and it's providing an additional option, and it's got some different characteristics from our own media gateway, which we'll be covering later on. Sorry, Alan, to steal your thunder with the questions that are coming
no,
up.
it's okay.
But two things in particular which we get requests for. One is different types of access protocols that we don't support in the UMG, and the other is the ability to scale down. If you looked at the numbers on that chart a little while ago, that's a more cost-effective option at the low end than the smallest UMG that we have. So that's why Tmedia. Why certify? Well, I mean, if we want to encourage people to take this option or make them feel comfortable doing it, then we need to try to make sure that they're happy that it's something which we are happy with. It means we've jointly tested the combined solution, so customers can buy it with confidence, know that they've got something that's well integrated and functional and works well together. So as far as possible, we want people to be able to use a Tmedia gateway in a similar way to how they would use a UMG. And we'll talk about some of the ways in which we're seeking to do that during this project.
Great. Yep. Oh, I think it's a match made in heaven, right? A lot of good things that work together.
Yeah, totally.
All right. So question then comes up, how will Metaswitch CFS control Tmedia devices? And again, Austin, I'm going to ask you to kind of walk us through this network diagram.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you won't be surprised for me to say that it's pretty similar to how it controls our existing media gateway. And as we said, CFS controls Tmedia already. We're just working on making that better, drawing it more closely into the family, if you like. So as with CFS, the key interfaces are H.248 for control and then SIGTRAN for signaling backhaul. CFS has got a number of proprietary H.248 packages that UMG implements to allow them to work closely together. For example, things like announcements. And one of the things that's being done as part of this is that Tmedia is being enhanced to support those proprietary packages to make them work better together. And then you obviously have the access and network side TDM bearer channels and the SS7 signaling, all managed over those control protocols. And then the other pieces of the integration are alarms being reported via Metaview server, and crucially, always-on diagnostics provided by our service assurance server, SAS. We're now pulling the Tmedia gateways into that. So customers looking at the information reported by SAS will be able to see stuff from Tmedia just as they would with the UMG and drill into the details of what's happened on a particular call. The Tmedia will appear in the ladder diagrams, and you'll be able to see the logic flow through the entire call. And Alan may want to add also the TB analytics box, which is something that Tmedia already supports. That's
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. So and of course the TB analytics, which is part of the product platform, is available right away, and is what it's used for our current existing customers to manage the Tmedia devices and diagnose network issues and similar sort of functionality, but it's just solved a different way. So okay, good. All right, next question. What would a migration from a Metaswitch media gateway to a TelcoBridges media gateway look like?
That's me again. Okay.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. So you wait for a slide, and then three you'll come along at once. Okay, so I mean, this is a question that we anticipate because one possible use case that people will have is existing particularly the pre-ATCA, the previous generation of media gateways in the field, and might want to consider a Tmedia as a replacement for that. So if you're thinking about that, there are two main cases, I think. So you can deploy CFS and the UMG either separately as two separate entities, or combined together as an integrated system. And I'll take the separate case first. And the process for that looks roughly like this. And this is similar to what we do with our own gateways today. Obviously, the tooling will be slightly different because it'll involve TelcoBridges infrastructure on one side, but the basic process is like this. Deploy the new Tmedia gateway, extract the configuration from the Metaswitch UMG and modify it as needed so that it will fit with the structure of the config model on the Tmedia gateway, and then import it in a deactivated state, because at the moment you haven't made any changes to your network, so therefore that configuration can be there, but obviously mustn't be doing anything. You need to make corresponding changes on the CFS to say, well, here's this new gateway and here are the things that it is able to do for you, information on there which matches the configuration on the gateway. Having done that, you then do the physical migration of the trunks from the old to the new by whatever plan makes sense, updating the configuration to match, to deactivate and reactivate things as necessary. And then having done that, you then remove the configuration from the old gateway and take it out of the system. I saw a question pop up while I was talking there saying, should we be looking at a network diagram? No, though maybe we could have created one for this. That possibly could have made things clearer. So yes, I'm sorry for not thinking of that. The other starting point is where you have an integrated system, which has a CFS and UMG combined into a single unit, which we often find at some of our smaller customers because it's a cost-effective way of deploying a small switch. Now here, that model doesn't exist with the Tmedia option here, so you would end up having to have a CFS and a Tmedia as separate entities. So what we would do in that case is, first of all, you would need to deploy a new CFS anyway, so you would do the process to turn a integrated system into a gateway being controlled by a new CFS, which is a process that we already have and have performed at numerous customers. And then you would do the steps that I described before to then migrate from that UMG, which was the integrated system in the first place and is now just a gateway, and migrate the traffic and everything off that onto the new Tmedia one. I don't know, Alan, if it might make sense to draw some pictures and circulate them with this when we send it out.
And I think one of the things that we do have planned in our work plan is to develop some documentation materials to walk people through different migration strategies or scenarios that might be common. So that would sound like something we could work on while the software developers are working on their thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep, very good. All right. What does Tmedia for Metaswitch have over the existing Tmedia? And this is basically a laundry list of the things that our development team are going to be working on. And the development and testing effort, like I said, is going to be is planned for completion in the first half of next year. It really consists of three major pieces. One of them is adding support for the service assurance server, SAS, to do the certification testing with Metaswitch, and developing whatever migration tools and documentation are necessary to help customers move over. That'll then result in a new release of Tmedia software, which either can be upgraded into an existing device. So if somebody already has a Tmedia and they would like to add the service assurance server functionality, they would just do a software upgrade, and that would add, you would require a feature key upgrade. So in that case, or if ordered from scratch, it would already include the Tmedia enhancements for Metaswitch, and that would come right from the factory, turned on, enabled with a proper version of software. So that's what's the difference between the two, Tmedia and Tmedia for Metaswitch. So one of the questions, and I'm looking at the Q&A, and I see Jim has peppered us with a couple of these questions. Thank you, Jim. Is Tmedia a feature-for-feature replacement for the UMG? And so we created a little chart here to help with that. So maybe, Austin, the best way to do it is just kind of go down line by line. You want to start on the upper left there?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the UMG comes with 3 capacity variants for T1, DS3s, and optical, and those other capacities there. So starting at 48 T1s up to 8 OC3s per blade pair, and you can put 6 blade pairs in a large chassis if you want to have a really large gateway.
And over in the TelcoBridges side, we start out at a low density with a single DS1, and the 7800 goes all the way up to 16 OC3 STM1s. So probably we should address the GR303 support.
Yes. So yes, I mean UMG will definitely has it. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So the Tmedia does not support GR303 at this point, and while we are constantly watching the market need for it, honestly, we've gone to a lot of mid-size, small rural service providers lately and talked to them about the need for GR303 replacement. And what they basically told us, without almost exception, is that they're in the middle of spending all the federal government's money for broadband deployments, and with that are putting brand new ONTs on subscribers' locations. And with that, they come with a SIP-based media gateway for the subscriber loop. So the GR303 is of less of a concern for them. But we do understand that there are definitely some customers who have GR303 needs. And I think kind of the message we're telling them now is get the UMG while you can, right? Stick with the UMG for those kinds of applications.
I'm not at all surprised that you've heard that particular reaction. What we're hearing as well is that lots of providers are going for large fiber build-outs. And that totally changes the way that aspect of the subscriber service goes. Right.
And also, we still, again, we have our ear to the rail. If there's a compelling business reason, I think we would pick that up as a function that we could implement. So it's just it's a priority issue. All right, let's talk about R2.
Yeah. Yep, so other way around here, that's one of the things which we don't have, and is something that we have had requests for, something that we can't find in certain geographies that we haven't had the commercial driver to build.
Yep, and Tmedia does natively support R2 signaling for those regions of the world that still use that. Maybe you want to talk about the service assurance server. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the key thing about that is the always-on diagnostics. The fact that you can have that there, giving you the last 7 days of traffic on your system and be able to drill into it, which is a well-known and loved part of the Metaswitch feature set. And obviously, UMG is fully built into that. I mean, obviously, the good news here, stealing Alan's line here, is that Tmedia is going to support it too by the time we finish with doing this.
Yep. No, that's obviously a big push as part of the plan. So let's talk about ESA. I think that would be good to cover.
Okay, so emergency standalone is the ability of a media gateway to effectively take over doing local switching in the event that it gets isolated from its controlling CFS. And that depends on a fairly tight integration between the two. In a lot of ways, the UMG turns itself into an integrated system for the duration of the time when it's isolated from its controller, and that level of integration would be a really big deal to try to do with a third party. And so that's not the approach that we're taking here. But as it says on the right hand side, we already have another technology, the ESA proxy, which can be used in conjunction with gateways other than the UMG already, and so that would be the approach that we would take here.
Yep, and I think from a redundancy standpoint, they're very similar with 1+1 and N+1 high availability on the 7800 with
Yeah.
optical APS, which is good. And then on the bottom there, a note about combining CFS into an integrated system. Whereas, of course, TelcoBridge Tmedia is going to be a standalone 1U device or rack mount, as you saw in some of the pictures earlier.
Yeah.
So those are in a nutshell, those are the product differences, and probably a lot more in common than different, but nonetheless, we needed to cover them. All right, next question. What are the details on the TelcoBridges no end of life policy? That was a pretty common question in our preliminary poll. So just a quick summary of it. First of all, it can be found on our website. If you go into the corporate section of the website, you'll see some of our policies, and let's start at the top here. So the company's made a policy not to end of life its products. It's a strategic decision by Gaetano on the board to avoid end of life at all cost. And to date, TelcoBridges has not yet ever discontinued any of its products. All of our products continue to be support, even from some of those products that were made in those early years in 2002 and on. Also, we do this through some relationships with some of our vendors. That's a key thing, is choosing components, elements, and vendors that would avoid end of life. And, not that every single part is always available from the same vendor forever. And we navigate that as best we can with those agreements and with a long-term relationship. And however, if all else fails, if a situation should arise where a device needed, just could not be replaced. If, for example, a device that's in use fails and they need a replacement, we have a policy a generous EOL policy that would offer a newer device and help with the transition from the legacy equipment to a new device, and support you through that whole process. So it's a key piece of our strategic plan. All right, so the next question is, would someone order Tmedia from Metaswitch? Well, of course, the most important thing is to get a hold of our sales team, and they can be reached at sales@telcobridges.com. They can help you with quoting, they can help with sizing, they can help with all the things necessary to put together a proposal, and then and process a purchase order to have the device delivered and get it scheduled. One of the other things that pops up is, how do we refer a prospect to TelcoBridges? So if you're, for example, a Metaswitch employee and you would like to send over a service provider over to TelcoBridges, we got a couple different mechanisms. First of all, we set up a referral page at telcobridges.com/Metaswitch-referral. And that page collects all the information necessary to forward the subscriber, or the service provider over to TelcoBridges, and along with some information about where that lead came from. And of course, you can always just send a note to sales@telcobridges.com and accomplish the same thing. So a couple different methods to get those projects jumped on. Well, let's move to some of your Q&A. I saw there was a few in here. So I guess, did we answer Jim's question about the H248? I sort of think we did, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And let's see here. A question from Jim about, is it T1 or E1? That's a good question. I don't remember off the top of my head. It was T1 or E1. Yeah.
I think Hong Kong uses E1.
Okay, there you go. Let's see. So yeah, maybe I guess Jim's next question is probably for you. The gateway cards and ports of viewable via Metaswitch Explorer.
No, MetaView Explorer does not see that. The MetaView integration, apart from SaaS, is for alarms. You would use TelcoBridges management GUIs to control and manage the objects in a Tmedia gateway.
Okay. And does Tmedia support E1? And of course, I think we answered that. Yes, it does. And yes, Jim, we're tempering your questions. So yeah, and one other question: does the gateway have a craft or diagnostic interface with something like SSH? And yeah, the answer is yes. Primarily, they're managed through the web user interface or RESTful APIs, but there is an SSH that can be used to manage that. And actually, in our training modules, there's one whole module on that: how to use the SSH to control the device command line. Let's see. How does the support work with Metaswitch and TelcoBridges? Any devices that would be purchased, any of the Tmedia devices, irrespective of if you purchased now or after the upgrade, they all still fall under the TelcoBridges support plan, which we have pretty well documented on our website, which, a device when it's purchased would be bought with a support plan and it would be renewed on an annual basis. And it's a percentage of the cost of the original device. And then either that gets you the 24/7 support. Is there anything, I guess, Austin, you want to add to that, or?
Well, I suspect the question is talking about if we had a Metaswitch gateway and a Metaswitch CFS, then Metaswitch would support both of those pieces. How does it work when you've got one device from one vendor and another device from another vendor? And the answer is that support for a device will be provided by the vendor of that device. But as part of the work that we're doing together now, we're making sure that each organization understands the other organization's devices, and so we'll be able to work together and make sure that we track down problems and sort them out. We want to provide as joined up experience as we can at all stages of the process.
Yeah, that's a good point. The cross training is also a big piece of what's happening over the next few months, and making sure that there isn't any finger pointing. That's good. Well, one of our anonymous attendees left us a little nugget of knowledge here, which is Hong Kong uses both T1 and E1. So there you go, your lesson for the day. And so with that, looks like we've reached the end of our Q&A list. And, obviously if a question comes up after the fact, you can shoot that off to sales@telcobridges.com, and one of the team will respond to it. And I want to thank both Austin for spending some time with us and helping put this together. So thank you, Austin.
It's been a distinct pleasure.
All right, very good. And of course, as I said at the beginning, a recording will be sent out probably about 24 hours to the whole session with a link to the individual slides. So you can feel free to browse that and also share it with anyone in your professional network that you think might find it useful. With that, I want to wish everyone a great day, and thanks for listening.